Magic fans, I'm Beef and welcome back to another Historic Brawl gameplay video, this time featuring a Voja Jaws of the Conclave deck. Now, there's a couple of decks I really hate playing against in Brawl. One of those is Mythweaver Puck. If you've watched the channel at all, anytime I've played Mythweaver Puck, I'm sure I've expressed my distaste for that card. And the reason I hate Puck is because it defeats the point, or it defeats one of the main mechanics of Brawl/Commander. In Commander, you have access to a very powerful legendary creature whenever you want, but the downside is every time you cast it after the first, you've got to pay command attacks, an extra 2. Mythweaver Puck, because it copies lands when they ETB, defeats the point of command attacks. You play Puck, you play a land, you now have 2 more land. Even if you remove Puck, you can just play it again and again and again and again. And if you don't remove Puck, it becomes huge and it ramps into massive creatures. It goes against what Brawl is, in my opinion. Voja, I hate playing against, is because, not even because it's really, really powerful, even though it pretty much is quite powerful, or it's unfair. I think it's specifically unfair. So what is Voja? It's a 5-mana 5/5 with Vigilance, Trample, and War 3. Those are some great keywords and stats, and War 3 is key to my dislike of Voja, and I'll explain in a bit. But the rest of the text says, whenever Voja Jaws of a Conclave attacks, put X +1/+1 counters on each creature you control, where X is the number of elves you control, then draw a card for each wolf you control. So those counters go on each creature you control, not each other attacking creature. So if you've got Birds of Paradise still sitting on the battlefield and you're not attacking with it, well, it's going to get counters no matter what. So next turn it'll be a 4/4 or a 5/5 or whatever. But the reason I dislike Voja is a few reasons. One, you can build this deck in a few ways. You can build elves, wolves, mixture of both. I've gone, and I think most people go elves. And the reason for that is, as we'll see in a minute, vast majority of mana dorks are elves. So you're playing them in your green decks anyway. You're playing a few more of them in this deck because of it, as well as other elves. So you're playing ramp, which gets your commander out quicker, and then buffs your entire board just from that ramp. And that Ward 3 means if you get Voja down, let's say turn 3, which is not tough at all, turn 1 mana dork, turn 2 mana dork, turn 3 Voja, bosh. Even if you're on the draw, the next turn cycle, your opponent's going to have 4 lands. Yes, they could ramp into something, or they can, swords to plowshares. They need 4 mana to remove Voja. That's hard to do for a lot of decks, impossible to do for some decks. If you're playing against mono red, they can't, basically. And if you're on the play, it's even worse. You play on turn 3, your opponent then gets the 3 mana. Well, they just can't, unless said they ramp, which again they can do, but it is not as guaranteed. And you attack with Voja the next turn, and suddenly everything in your board's got 3 or 4 +1/+1 counters. You've drawn an extra card. And it's just bonkers. Yes, it falls down to a lot of ramp decks or creature ramp decks. Board wipes. If your opponent wipes your board, you're pretty much done. But that's reliant on them having it, them being in the right colours. So that's why I don't really like playing against Voja. But I've decided to play it today. So as I said, I've built this deck mainly towards elves. We do have a few wolves. So let's quickly go through the deck. We're not going to go through every card because we've seen a lot of them before, and a lot of them do very similar things. So first up, we have non-elf ramp. So these are all ramp cards that either attack for mana, put an extra land on the battlefield, enchant forest. We've got mana reduction, we've got mana rock, cultivate puts extra lands, and Archdruid's Charm can put an extra land, as few as a few other things. These are the specifically non-elf ramp. Then we have just a huge amount of elves, and most of these are ramp cards, things like Elvish Mystic and Llanowar Elves, tap for lands, Jaspera Centaur and Statistical Stalwart can tap other creatures for lands. Birds of Paradise, obviously, that should be in that one as a non-elf ramp. Things like Priest of Titania, tap for a green for each elf in the battlefield. And then we've got just elves that aren't ramp, like Allosaurus Shepherd makes our green spells uncounterable, which is really good, and it can buff our elves. Leaf Crown Visionary buffs our elves and gives us card draw to elves. Tides Provisioner is a bit of ramp as well. Back Alley Gardener is a alchemy card that when another creature enters, we seek a land card, so that is a bit of ramp as well. Beast Whisperer, draw a card whenever we cast a creature spell. Tulsamere is an elf, creates a wolf as well. Voja is Tolsimir's wolf buddy. There is another Tolsimir card, but I actually cut it because I think it's the worst out of the 2 Tolsimirs, and I needed to put some other cards in. And then we do have only 3 wolves. Tenacious Pup. When it comes down, we gain a life, and then we get a one-time boon because it's an alchemard. When we cast a creature spell, that creature enters with an additional +1/+1 counter, trample counter, vision counter. That's really powerful. You know, even if we get down a mana dork on the next turn, he comes as a 2/2 probably, trample and vigilance. Obviously, if we can then cast Voja with it, that becomes even bigger. It already has trample and vigilance, and not really worth it though. Cemetery Prowler, when it ETBs or attacks, we exile a card from graveyard. Spells we cast cost 1 less to cast. Each card each card type they share with cards exile Cemetery Prowler. So if it comes down and exiles a creature, all creatures we cast cost 1 less. If you exiles 2 creatures, it'll be 2 less. And then Nightpat Ambusher has flash. Other wolves and werewolves we control get +1/+1. So Voja is a wolf. And at the beginning of it ends that if we didn't cast a spell this turn, create a 2/2 green wolf creature token. So this can buff up the number of wolves we have. Then we have some shapeshifters. So Masked Vandal, Realm Walker, and Bloodline Pretender all have changed in, meaning they are all creature types. So they are elves and wolves. Maskwood Nexus causes all creature types, all creatures we control, to be all creature types. And then we can pay 3 to create a 2/2 blue shapeshifter creature with Changeling. So again, our elves now become wolves, our wolves become elves, so just buffing up Voja completely. And then Roaming Throne, very, very powerful card. 4 mana, 4/4, wall 2, so quite hard to remove. When at ETBs we choose a creature type, we'll most likely be choosing wolf. So Roaming Throne is a wolf, and then whenever a triggered ability of that chosen creature type triggers, it triggers an additional time. So if we play Voja, then the next turn play Roaming Throne, name wolf, and we attack with Voja, even if you have no other wolves in the battlefield, we'll be drawing 4 cards because Voja will see itself and Roaming Throne, draw 2 cards from that, and then we'll get that trigger again. So that's immensely powerful. It also obviously doubles up the +1/+1 counter triggers, so just making our board absolutely huge. Next up, we have some haste enablers. Being able to attack with Voja the turn it comes down is incredibly powerful. So Swiftfoot Boots also helps protect our commander, but does cost 1 mana. So we may, if we want to get Voja down the earliest possibility, we may not be able to equip it the same turn. But Rising of the Day and Rhythm of the Wild do not have that issue. Rising of the Day gives all creatures haste, which is really good, and also buffs legendary creatures by +1/+0, so Voja gets in for extra damage. And Rhythm of the Wild means creature spells we can't control can't be countered. Again, can be useful. And then non-token creature spells, we have Riot. Riot is a mechanic from Ravnica, I think, that basically says when a creature ETBs, we choose to give it haste or a +1/+1 counter. So we'll be picking haste for Voja. Next up, we have a very few amounts of removal. Path to Exile, Swords to Plowshare, Lightning Bolt, and Bridgeworks Battle can be a land, but obviously can be a fight spell. And then some just good stuff and protection. So Flower in the White Tree buffs our entire board, buffs our legendary creatures more, and gives them ward 1. Teferi's Protection can just save our entire board. As I said, the big weakness for this deck is board wipes. The weakness for a lot of decks with creature-based ramp, if you remove those creature-based ramps, then, well, any ramp you remove those, then you're in trouble. Garruk's Uprising gives our entire board trample. It also draws a card if we control a creature with power 4 when it ETBs, or if a creature power 4 ETBs while we control Garruk's Uprising, we draw a card. That trample is important because none of our small elves have trample, but these are going to get quite big, and depending on the board, our opponent may just be able to chump. So giving them trample could really, well, cause lethal. And then Cabaret to Revels, whenever we cast a creature spell, seek a creature card with less than mana value, put it onto the battlefield. Most of our creatures are pretty small, so we're going to be getting more 1-drops. Obviously, Voja can get pretty much most of our other board, in fact, all our other creatures. So land is as what you would expect, a lot of dual lands, a lot of fetch lands, and that's it. So that's the deck. It is pretty powerful. I hope you all enjoy it. If you do, please remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you all in the gameplay. We go first with an okay hand. Could do with some more lands. I think we get green white for Temple Gardens. And we put this on white. And we'll get down the surveyor land. Yeah, I'll keep that. Next turn we can track her and then play a land. We'll create a treasure and play Rhythm. So next turn we can Voja, give it haste, assuming the Rhythm is still on the battlefield. Obviously, Glab does have Death Touch. But that's not going to make much difference. We can't play Nissa and Voja. Well, we can Oracle, see if we hit a land. Yeah, I think they thought they might be able to try and take out Voja, but Voja has Ward 3, which is a very, very powerful ward. I'm against the first sliver, so it could be a sliver deck, or it could just be a general 5 colours deck. But we've got a pretty good hand, actually. We can Roaming Throne on Wolf. And 3 Tree City maybe on Elf. Swing in for 1. We can play Voja next turn and then Roaming Throne the turn afterwards. So we'll get white with this. And they won't be able to take out Voja. on Wolf. It triggers twice. Down to 3. We draw 4 cards as well. So yeah, need a board wipe. Well, that was a board wipe. But we can rebuild. We can exile Elvish Mystic from our graveyard. Reduces the cost of everything else. But yeah, if they didn't have removal, we just smashed in. We are on the play. It's a bit slow. This is not much faster. But we can get a Surveil land. And then Arcane Signet. Glider. Don't need another land. Next time we can play out the Glider and Woodland Mystic. Gilder, sorry, not Glider. See, up against red, there's a chance that our creatures die. And I'll get down the Loam Speaker. We'll play out Jaspier Sentinel. They have something, I think. Then we'll see what we draw. That's a lot of power coming at you. 25 exactly. Obviously, only Voja has trample. I think we'll just cultivate. Got to finish this match before maintenance. Doesn't really matter. I don't think that's going to do it. That is not going to do it. If we Master Nexus, turning everything into everything, then we could play out the Goose and the Pilgrim, attacking, draw 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Draw 7 cards, put 7 +1/+1 counters on all our creatures, and kill them quite spectacularly. We go first with, well, a lack of red, but Arcane Signet can fix that. We only actually have 1 elf, and that's Radar. Oh, there's an elf. And in blue might be relevant. Against blue might be relevant. Let's get down Radar. Hit him for 1. Well, I'm gonna just lightning bolt now. And then rhythm. And next time we can attack with Voja with haste. Well, we can still Voja with haste. So we'll just end up drawing a card. But if we draw a land, we can Night Pack Ambusher, and Bloodline Pretender. That's not a land. But I'm going to play out the Pretender. And we'll put it on Elf. Sure, let's give it haste. And we'll just play this on. And we'll keep up the Ambusher and Archdruid's Charm. Might be able to fight something. Oh, that art.
Now this is a juicy socket.
But it shouldn't really make much difference. Because we just give it haste. With walled 3, they can't do anything with only 2 mana. Boom! There we go. We are on the play with not the fastest hand in the world, but I suppose a Narcomancer can reduce the cost. So let's play out the Florahedron as a land. And we can ramp with the Druid. Or maybe we can just cultivate. Why can't we cast a cultivate? Oh. We'll get red and white. Doesn't really matter what we put in. And we'll just get a red-green Surveil land. Sure. We won't swing in. Next turn we can Beast Whisperer. We will, let's go down Rhythm of the Wild. And then Spring Bloom Druid. We'll just put a counter on it. Sacrifice a mountain. Get a green and another mountain. If we draw an untapped land, we can Beast Whisperer and Voja. Oh, don't take out the Rhythm of the Wild. I think they're having mana problems. Or not. That's not an untapped land. But we can play out Marwyn. And then we'll give her haste. Give him haste as well. And swing in for a lot. I wonder if they've got a board wipe. But if they do, obviously we can Leaf Crown Visionary and Beast Whisper. Oh, they don't. That ain't going to do it. Yeah. I'm not sure why, we had a lot of power on the board. They only had 3 life left. Obviously, it did have board wipe. We could have Beast Whispered and Leaf Crown Visionary. Maybe we may not have had enough green actually, and gone with haste damage. Mono black, so I imagine there's going to be a lot of removal. This is a too slow hand though. This is better. Well, no messing about from them. We can take out Ayara with the Bridgeworks battle. I will discard Tulsimate. And because they use Dark Ritual to get it out, they're going to be reasonably far behind. And we can play Voja next turn, assuming our Druid survives. We'll get a white source. So we can get down the Vandal, destroy their Cold Steel Heart, and get down the Leaf King Druid. Swing in for a hefty amount, draw a couple of cards, and even play out the Pilgrim. They need a board wipe. Which they do not have. The risk with getting out a commander with Dark Ritual is that it gets removed and then you are so far away from being able to play your commander, especially in mono black where you're reliant on mana rocks for ramp instead of say mana creatures or land ramp. No, you do. Shouldn't be too bad seeing as our deck doesn't rely on targeting at all. Although we do draw Source of Plowshares. But we can Birds of Paradise turn 1. Raja turn 2. Or maybe just Rising of the Day. Yeah, we're in trouble. I think I'm going to have to swords. We'll make this do green. Hit him for 4. And we'll swords there, Nadu, and hope it whiffs. It did. Obviously they can replay it, but not do much else. And next turn weaken Voja. They do have Veil of Summer available. We hit him for 7, and we can play out the Delighted Halfling. And next turn we can Realm Walker and War Master.
Nothing like warm tea and a fascinating story.
But we will War Master first. And then Realm Walker. Well, we could have paid the 1, which is why I think they scooped. And then, you know, all our creatures had haste. So we attack in and get 1, 2, 3 +1/+1 counters. Draw 2 cards. And, yeah, maybe just have lethal straight off the bat. We are on the play with a pretty good hand. We can Cami into Elegant Parlour to scry. We'll keep a forest. And next turn we can Rishkar. And Delighted Halfling. And next turn we can Voja. Only got 1 elf on the battlefield, but the turn after that we can Marwyn's Kindred. I was going to say, did they keep a 1-lander? But they did not. Oh, let's swing in. So next turn we can Marwyn's Kindred for 3? That's a pretty good combo. Spring Art Nantuko with Llanowar Elves. They're going to get a lot of mana, but we're going to be able to smash in for a decent amount. Okay, not 3. 2 then, still better than nothing. Obviously they can chump. I don't see how they have any mana available. See, we do have lethal. And then I'll just keep Voja. Yeah, I'll keep Voja back on defense. Obviously, we could have played out Birds of Paradise. But there was a little point, I think. Well, this is an okay hand, I suppose. We don't really have any ramp. But we can get Stomping Grounds. We don't have any white mana, which is an issue, but we can Spring Bloom Druid to sack a mountain.
Nothing like a bit of violence now and then. What's that? Something smells rotten. Wait, that might be me.
You'll sacrifice a mountain to get, as I say, a couple of planes for Tulsamere. We'll take out the Anarchomancer and attack their Domri down to 1.
I bow to no one.
Wow. So we have 3, 4. We have 7. Yeah, this lets us play both. So depending on what they do, they can pay out Xenagos and double Atali's power. And obviously depending on what they hit.
I'll be back after I've licked my wound. My wild beasts will bring your comeuppance.
They hit a forest and a druid. That's not too bad. Because we can roaming throne, name wolf, crack this, and then we're going to swing in with everything. Which is probably lethal. It is quite lethal. And then we had a 13-13 on defense, so that could even chump their tally. Oh, Pock. Seeing as we are removal light, this is going to be a tough matchup, I think. But we can Elvish Mystic into an Archomancer, and that's a good start. We have all our colours. Ideally would have liked to kept Bridgeworks Battle for the fight spell, but unfortunately can't always have what we want. I think we just get this down to increase our count, and then we can Voja next turn to increase our elf and wolf count. We can Voja, and then the turn afterwards play Bloodline Pretender. Well, in case they have something like Giant Growth, they can get down Pock. Oh wow, that's a pretty powerful card. Right, we can get down the Pretender. We will put this on Elf. Right, let's hammer. Draw 3 cards. They are at 1. Take that, Pock. As I said in my intro, I hate playing against Pock, but sometimes just smashing in on turn 4 is good enough. Oh, Balin, so a token deck. I have played this card on the channel before. We are on the draw with an alright hand. An Archomancer is basically ramp. We can get down a Surveil land. It depends if they can go off with tokens before we can smash in with everything. It is a 4/3 as well, so a pretty big creature for only 3 mana. Maybe we draw a 1-drop. That would be really nice. We don't draw a 1-drop. Sure. With an Archomancer down, if it survives, we can play out Leaf Glider and a few other things a turn afterwards. And they've got something, so I don't know if it will survive. Just raise the alarm. Oh, that's an issue. We'll get down Realm Walker, name Elf. Path to Exile is a pretty good thing to keep on top. Although, well, we could play Voja. Yeah, so let's play out Voja. And next turn we can sell Valor and Path to Exile. They have the mana. Oh, okay, I'll say they have the mana to remove Voja. I may want a Path to Exile their Scoot Swarm. Let's play out Selvala. And then let's crack in with Voja. It's an 8/8. And we'll just play out our planes. We can get down Bamboo, Kami. And then I will just Path of Exile their Scoot Swarm now. But we're in a pretty good place. They can draw. Let's play out Back Alley Gardener. And we can pretty much empty our hand. Well, not pretty much, we can empty our hand. And then Voja and everything else smash. Well, that was less than ideal, but we do get to ramp. So Voja still buffs our entire board. And obviously we can replay Voja now next turn quite easily. That's going to be a problem. Yeah. Garrock's Uprising would be really handy. As it gives our entire board trample. They made us better swinging with Balin and Killers. That Primal Vigor. Can they just kill us? I don't think they can. We need a decent draw. Well, it's an elf. Yeah, alright, well, that Primal Vigor really screwed us over.